and all those. And, you know, so one of the things that I know that the UN has done is that there is a portal called the UN Partner Portal. You go there, you fill in your documents, and if you're partnering with, let's say, UNFPA, then if it's UNICEF, we will not come and conduct another OCA within a certain duration of time. I know also for Charter for Change, they've already come up with something they call the due diligence passporting. So it's almost like a due diligence tool that different INGOs, I think also Christian Aid is part of this, will be using. So if you've maybe undergone OCA, let's say for example with Oxfam, within maybe 6 months, if you're also partnering with Christian Aid, they won't come again and administer another OCA. You will just present what you had already shared with the Oxfam, and then they will work around that. So I think also some of those innovative things that are being done, both by international actors and also by local actors, can really help us to reduce these bureaucracies. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I think that's a very interesting question, because when you're applying for, and this I throw back to development partners, we are, organizations are very guilty when it comes to applying for funds. I'm telling you, the forms you will fill. The forms you will fill, the bureaucracies, the requirements, and it's crazy. And so we are what can we do as development partners, and even when we come together, how can we reduce what is required in terms of ensuring that we make the process very easy for any organizations to apply for these funds and they're able to get. So you go through all that process and there's no guarantee that you will get. Of course, you'll be very demoralized. So how can we also ensure that we're working together as development partners and reducing those bureaucracies, those paperwork? It's a lot of paperwork, and as Dennis has mentioned, as I don't know if maybe they have a system of how they're able to read all that paperwork. And also, there's matters concerning reporting time. So you're told that you're given this amount of money to do this project, but you have to report after every 3 weeks or 2 weeks, or you have to give me weekly reports. For what? Why can't we just ensure that we're having our reporting timelines that is feasible, when you're able to ensure that you have something to report about and you have been able to achieve a particular impact, then within a particular period of time that you're able to report a particular impact. So there are all these bureaucracies that really don't make sense, but if we come together as organizations, development partners, and even organizations, as I mentioned before, in terms of sitting in that decision table and also stating as organizations what is feasible for you. I have seen it work, where organizations say it is not feasible for us to give you weekly updates. Let's give you, like, we can work on giving you monthly reports, which makes sense. We can work on giving you quarterly reports, which makes sense. We can work on feeding our M&D database, which makes sense, as opposed to organizations having such bureaucratic processes and application processes that is very difficult for us to keep on and for us to keep up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Are we hearing something? Are we hearing something? Are we learning something? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the panel. So my next question is about if we are keen on locally led development, and we are keen to put communities at the center of development, what are some of the approaches that we can use to bolster this? The agency want to leverage on their local expertise. So as development partners, what is your role in amplifying this? And what are
so we are learning. We are learning as a development partner, and one of the one of the commitments that we have made as the Mastercard Foundation is that all our funding, 75% of all our funding, will go to Africa-led organizations. 75% of all our funding actually goes to Africa-led organizations. We appreciate the amazing work that international organizations are doing. We recognize the work that they're doing, the space that they're holding, but we cannot keep on talking about lack of capacity, low capacity for local organizations, and all the things that you're saying here, if we don't fund, if we don't support local organizations. And so that is one of the things that really shows our commitment towards supporting WROs and other local organizations. But then the other thing that we've also committed, because we are working with young people, 35% of all our funding will then go to youth-led organizations. And it is diverse youth-led organizations, you know, from those that are in Turkana, very small, nascent, no policies, no structure. We walk with you the journey. We co-create solutions with you, you know. But how we do, I'm sure someone is asking, but then we've never seen you call out for proposals and all that. We do not do open calls. We actually approach organizations. And so that is why being in the space, being in TWGs, being in those working groups helps really amplify your work. Because when you're saying we want youth-led organizations, and we are telling a group of organizations seated here, then they will say, there is one in Siaya, there is another one in Turkana, there is an, you know. And so that is how we really get to really get the organizations that we support. And so the other thing really is around, and especially when you're talking about gender equality and women empowerment, of all the funding, of all the work that we do, 70% of our target population is young women. Our ambition is to get to 30 million young women and men by 2030 across Africa. And 21 million of them have to be young women, diverse young women. And in Kenya, it is 7 million young people. 5 million of them have to be diverse young women. And then we take it a notch higher and say, young women from marginalized communities or marginalized young women. So from persons with disability to women in refugees to, you know, displaced populations and all that. So that is one of the commitments that we've made as an organization.
Thanks, Ruth. I've been in a lot of discussion about this term called locally led development. And I remember there's a time we even spent more than 6 months just trying to define this. And for me, I would say that it is the high time that local actors train international actors on what we mean by locally led development, because we seem to be missing it a bit. You are already local. You are already doing it. You are doing it with your eyes closed. So you need to be at the center of really training and strengthening capacities of international actors on locally led development. I will even challenge all of us here, if you can come together and come up with a guidance on locally led development with women-led organizations. That will be very great, because then we can learn from your end. The other bit is also, I would say that is also an issue around a change of attitude and mindset from international actors. We really need to change our attitude and our mindset in how we are engaging. And the last bit in relation to what I just mentioned about mentorship and training is that capacity needs to be a two-way thing. It doesn't need always to be it's international actors strengthening capacities of local actors. It also needs to be local actors strengthening capacities of international actors. And what I see as a key thing is actually this locally led development, because you are doing it with your eyes closed. Why can't you also come and train the different people on this is how we talk about locally led, this is how you go about it, and all those aspects. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think one of the things that one of the commitments that we have at Christian Aid is matters concerning ensuring that we're having monitoring, evaluation, and learning. We implement projects in partnership with our partners, but we don't want to look at the learnings that we have had and the learning from the community, learning from the project going to waste. So how can we come together to share that kind of learning after these projects have come to a close? So when we do our programming, we ensure that our programming is done within a particular cycle, and so they're coming to an end, all of them together, and have a learning opportunity between all of us, because Christian Aid looks at matters concerning climate change and adaptation, and then we also look at gender justice, and we look at matters concerning governance and rights. So when we exchange our ideas, we are able to learn from each other. Another thing that we do is that we have a very open door policy. At Christian Aid, we do not look at partners as local partners, international partners, as donors and all that. We have broken all that power structure, and we look at each other as partners, coming together to advocate and to challenge challenges and poverty, because alleviating poverty is our main aim, our main vision. How can we come together to alleviate poverty? So it's important for us to have that kind of, for us as an organization, for us to have that kind of discussion and open door policy and feedback mechanism and monitoring and evaluation and learning and sharing that kind of learning and monitoring projects, that we are able to have that kind of understanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we try to build resilient, adaptive, and transformative organizations, as development partners, how can we support them to have a safe space and also to have an enabling environment for them to prosper and to grow?
Interesting question again. So as I mentioned before, this is a learning space. Nobody has the final answer. For us, even we're in all our different spaces, we are all coming together. We are all trying to learn from each other. So we look at, as I've mentioned already, we are looking at how can we come together to have that kind of feedback mechanism, that you can tell us that here in this case, we are thinking that instead of having this kind of reporting mechanism, why can't we have our reporting in a way that makes sense, in a way when we have already have implementation and we have something to report about. So for organizations that she has requested, as she has asked about, how can we ensure that also local organizations or women-led rights organizations are growing in terms of their growth, is that to have break all those power structures, break them, and ensure that we are having, we can talk, we can have that kind of one-on-one. And in terms of funding, we can have we can have long-term funding, that our funding mechanism is not just for very short projects where we are not able to identify and have change, and we are not able to mention any kind of change because the project was very short. But how can we also ensure that these projects are longer and these projects have more impact in the community in terms of the funding structure?
Yeah, I'll just share based on experience that I've also had in with other organizations. And just to mention that I think the aspect around introducing the local actors to your donor are very key. Once you've already worked capacity exchange together, it's important to also introduce them to your donors. If they can get direct funding, the better. The other bit is looking at, engaging from an asset-based approach with a local actor and not a deficit-based approach, whereby, you're looking at areas, gaps. We need to look at the strengths that they have and build on those strengths. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. I think to create a safe and enabling environment, let's just say that even funders are in the journey of learning. Much as they have the resources, they also learn every day. And one of the things that we've seen work for us is, number one, we have co-creation as a value. And so when we select you to be a potential partner, then we co-create the program with you. And you see, the moment we start interacting, then we are building relationships, because safe and enabling environment is not a cliche. It is built on relationship, it is built on trust, And so co-creation has really helped us to break the visible and invisible barriers between us as a development partner and also the partners that we fund. The other thing that we are practicing, and I think this is really embedded on our values, is really on receiving feedback. And once you become our partner, then we have a lot of meetings. We have partner convenings to share learnings, to share how we work, Because at times, once the organizations have received funding, they're really still trying to figure out, but who is this funder? How do they operate? How do they like their reporting to be done? You know, so we have partner convenings to really take through the partners that are on board on who we are and how we operate and the do's and don'ts, you know. The other thing that we introduced last year as part of really improving how we serve our partners, because for us, when we partner with you, the impact is not you. The impact is the person in the last mile. It is that young woman in Busia who's going through gender-based violence. It is that young man in Turkana, you know. And so one of the things that we introduced last year, which really worked, is doing a partner survey. You know, so just sending anonymous questionnaire to just ask, how is our work? How is our relationship? What is working? What is not working? And the feedback that we got really helped us to improve our systems. And internally, now we are even working on timelines. When should you respond to partners when they send to your request? So that has really helped in changing the institutional, the organizational culture. And yeah, have talked about our values. Our values really ground us, because values around co-creation, around listening, around, you know, impact. Those are things that really ground us and help us to really know how to partner with you, you know. So I think that is what I can say for now.
Okay, thank you, Ruth, Dennis, and Purity, for that very enlightening conversation. Are we learning something in this from this conversation? Yes, and one opportunity, Daisy and Wangeshi, I saw you discussing, is that when Dennis said you've been challenged to develop guidance to train the INGOs and the donors on what exactly is locally led programming. So I think that it's a good opportunity to look into, and the rest of us. That is a discussion. You can pick it up and you know, write papers, guidance, and what have you. Now, we want to have a conversation around risk sharing between development partners and local actors. For far too long, the development partners have led in this you know, space of you know, managing risk and leaving out the local actors to shoulder the burden when things you know, do not you know, probably if the project winds up. And you've heard from the women organization saying that some of the challenges they have is usually retaining the best staff within the organization once the funding has come to an end. Now, in ensuring there's equitable risk sharing between the local actors and the development partners, as it's very clearly espoused by the C4C commitments. From your own experiences, are there particular ways development partners can create mechanisms to facilitate equitable risk sharing with the local actors, women rights organizations, you know, women-led organizations? So I want to invite us to have this conversation. Yes, who wants to go first? Okay, Purity? Yes.
Repeat the question again.
Yes. So the question is about risk sharing between local actors and the development partners. So for far too long, risk management has been the sole responsibility of the development partners. Coining or you know, bringing on board the earlier conversations in the day was that the women rights organizations actually, they've spoken very loudly and clearly that they find themselves in spaces that they cannot be able to keep some of their very skilled you know, team members once funding comes to an end. Okay, so that's one example of a risk that you know, gets into the space of you know, programming work for the human rights organization. So the question is, are there particular methodologies or, you know, approaches that you can recommend from your spaces or experience that can create a more equitable risk sharing, you know, matrix or you know, arrangement between the local actors and the development partners?
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do in terms of ensuring that we are reducing risks is coming together in terms of sharing information and also sharing when we're coming together to make decisions and to have decision-making chances. Because we understand that it is important for us to have a very, very clear and transparent information sharing. You can't hide things under the table and then you expect that people will just proceed on with what they are able to see. But we have to ensure that in terms of reducing risks, that we are having a very transparent communication within each other as an organization, and even between partnership, that this is what we have on the table. This is the amount of money that we have on the table to implement a particular project, and that is what we do at Christian Aid. And as my colleagues have mentioned, in terms of feedback mechanism, because when we do that feedback mechanism and when we do that communication, we are pouring everything there is and stating that this is what it is there on the table. I was in a different forum some time back, and we were having this discussion about risk, and we had development partners mentioning the chances of organizations. What are the possibilities of organizations in the community holding huge amounts of money to implement particular projects, and they felt that there could be chances of this amount of money not reaching to the community as it is. But we are saying that if we are having this continuous feedback, and we are saying if we are having this kind of capacity building and capacity enhancement discussion, and as my colleagues have mentioned, that we are working together in terms of implementing projects, then we are reducing those chances of those risks. And so what I have seen work, and what I continue to do, and we continue to do at Christian Aid, is matters concerning communication, clear, open, transparent communication. This is what we have. This is what we wanted to do, and it is for this particular period of time. Are you able to do it? Continuous feedback, continuous discussion, and then we're able to work together, and also in terms of monitoring of these projects.
Thank you. Dennis.
Yeah, I think when you talk about risks, it's important for the partners during inception and during co-creation to really discuss risks. And if you are talking about transferring risks, then you should also transfer resources to cater for those risks in case of any eventualities. And also just to note that I think for some time there has been a lot of focus on fiduciary risks. I think risks should be also assessed in all these different manners. And I'll give a very good example. There's a program that that I was part of, and it was not now, but in my previous roles. And this program was very interesting because it was a program around elections, and it was very interesting because a program around elections, and you know how our elections, can be very murky. But this local actor, they didn't have a safe house. That if anything happened to that women-led organization, the ED, she can, be evacuated. They didn't have a cost on that. But the international actor had a cost even of, 3 houses, which they could, be evacuated. So when you talk about risk, it's important to look at it holistically. And if you're transferring risks, then you also need to transfer resources to cater for those risks. Thank you.
Just to build up on what he has said around looking at risks in a more holistic way beyond the money. Just to say, funders have their mission and vision, and funders are also accountable to whoever is giving them money, And so one of the things that I've seen work, especially during co-creation, is allowing the organizations that we support to be as open and as transparent as possible. Because you could have all the resources, then one safeguarding incident brings you down. So it's not the money only. It could be actually a safeguarding case. Your staff doing some things with a minor, with a participant and all that. So looking at risks holistically is really important. But then the other thing that I've seen work beyond just having a very robust risk matrix, plus with very clear mitigation strategies. and of course, some of the mitigation strategies have to be accompanied by resources, is really to keep reviewing your risk matrix. You know, when you do your proposal and you've received your funding, that is the document that you place in the farthest shelf that you never refer to. And yet, you're in an ever-changing context. So risks are there, you know. So updating your risk matrix, communicating, discussing about the mitigation strategies, actually saying that for us to mitigate this particular thing, we actually need more resources. You know, having that kind of a conversation, because most of the proposals that I've reviewed is that is the section that is least articulated. It is just the finance maybe, and maybe an election, and when they're talking about an election, they will say it will delay the delivery of programs, but not looking at it in a very more, in a deeper way that will actually impact the delivery of your program. And then, of course, sharing risks. You know, there are those that can be borne by the local organizations, but there are those that when you are at risk, then it affects your fund as well. For example, if it's a safeguarding thing, the moment your organization has been flagged for a safeguarding incident, the reputational risk on your funder is also high. And that is why at times risks, actually at all times, risks have to be shared. Robust risk matrix really helps you to document everything and anything that you think is likely to happen, and your mitigation strategy. And even that, maybe that even gives you a leeway to say, by the way, we had not thought about this and it will cost us. Can we add this to the budget? You can have that conversation with your partner, development partner. Yeah.
Thank you, Ruth, Dennis, and Purity for that conversation. The Grand Bargain and the Charter for Change commitments strongly emphasizes equitable risk sharing between the local actors and the development partners. So the question is, and you've strongly, presented your case that, development of the risk, management matrix needs to be exhaustive enough, risk transfer and what have you. So the question is, you've had the women rights organizations today that they actually, through the WVL project, they've been supported to do what they do best. All right. So that means is basically utilization of the indigenous knowledge and the local knowledge and capacities at the communities they work in. So the question is, what role can the indigenous knowledge or the local knowledge of the women rights organization play in the development of the risk management matrix between them and other development partners? So we're looking at their local capacity, their local knowledge. How can it translate to, developing to a more inclusive risk management matrix between them and the development partner? Yes.
I think I know this sounds very abstract, but let me say it anyway. Believe in the knowledge that you have, and don't be afraid to share it, because that is your knowledge. And for development partners, of course, most of us, we are actually based in Nairobi. We do field visits once in a while. We do monitoring visits a couple of times, but then you know your context better. So you can be able to articulate those risks better than the funder, you know? And so, number one, I would actually challenge. I know it is not easy, the power dynamics are still there, but feel free to share your indigenous knowledge. Feel free to say, by the way, in our context, when it rains, it actually pours. And when it pours, our houses are carried by floods, and that is a risk. Much as a funder could be supporting a program in multiple counties, there is one county that the risk is higher in terms of maybe flooding more than the other. And a funder wouldn't know that if you don't say it, you know? So remember, you hold the key to your program, you know? So make sure you actually share. You know your context better. Make sure you actually share every other risk that is there, you know? Because remember, the funder sits in a very different place from where you sit. And so being open, being transparent, articulating your context really helps in even educating the funder the mitigation strategies that needs to be discussed. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. When you mentioned that, I remember I was in that session where Leah mentioned something about the boda boda. I think it was you know, when they are going to support women, and sometimes they are carried by the motorcycle. It can be a risk, especially even in the mountaineering period. I think for me, the aspect of local knowledge and local indigenous knowledge cannot be put away. It has really helped in programming, and I believe that majority of international actors, if I'm not wrong, they actually work together in terms of also getting the knowledge, and because it's part of programming. I think also the other component that I'll mention that might be also interesting is having opportunities and opportunities to share innovations. And when you're sharing innovations, you also include some of these components. I think sometimes when local actors have received funding, there is no that space. Maybe the most of the spaces has always been on this is your report, how is the project doing, have you achieved your deliverable. I think it's important to also have that space for innovation, having space for conversation, having space on let's discuss our partnerships. I think in most of the time, sometimes you find when we are going to the field, we are only discussing the project. It will also be key for us. Let's discuss our partnership. How do it's almost like a marriage between the two of us. So let's discuss. How am I taking you? Are there things that maybe I may need to improve on? And I think those are also the aspects that I had mentioned. Also, a change in mindset and attitude is also key. Thank you.
Very interesting, because nobody understands the solution to particular traditional problems other than you, who is there in the local community and has had this intergenerational knowledge being carried from one generation to another. And so that when it rains, just as my colleague Ruth was mentioning this example of when it rains, it pours, that when it rains, as an organization or as a community, we do ABCD to avoid soil erosion. We do ABCD, and we don't need a particular organization coming from a development partner or partner coming from far to come and tell us what to do, because we have that local knowledge, we have that local intergenerational knowledge that we have had being carried forward. And so it's important, and even during co-creation, it's important to sit down with local communities to identify what are the local solutions that they know to particular problems. Yes, there's technology that has come on board. There are things that have come on board to make our work easier, but how can we also ensure that we are incorporating the local knowledge and we're incorporating the local indigenous knowledge to solve this kind of community challenges that we have. And it's important for us to, in terms of also identifying, these are the kind of local knowledge that we have in terms of dealing with these challenges. If we are having challenge concerning, let's say, if we look at matters concerning climate change, these are the challenges that we have, and this is how we normally solve this kind of situations. Or even in terms of when you're looking at gender justice, these are the challenges that we have as a community, and this is how we solve them. Then how can we also ensure that we are fostering collaboration and working together? It's very important for us as organizations, and even for the development partners, for all of us as partners, to work in tandem with each other, and also to work with the government of the day. It's important for us to identify how we can also harness this kind of spaces and harness this kind of strengths that we're having from other resources and from other partners, to be able to identify and to work with this to strengthen our local knowledge that we have had. So for us, as I would mention, even for us at Christian Aid, is that we identify the local indigenous knowledge that has been carried forward, and look at how communities can come together to solve those challenges and to reduce the risks that could be there in terms of program implementation. So it's important for us during co-creation to think far, to identify during this period, this is what normally happens in terms of even FGM. this is what normally happens, but how can we reduce those chances when we come together and foster this kind of partnership. But also, before I hand over the mic, it's important for us to also look at how we can develop and strengthen policies. There's nothing that can support us better than to have and to work together to strengthen policies and to develop policies that are embedded, that will support us in reducing and in dealing with some of these challenges. Because when we have policies and when we come together to develop policies and to support the government in implementation of these policies, then we are also able to reduce those kind of risks. Thank you.
Thank you, Purity, Dennis, and Ruth, for that very enlightening conversation. I would like to invite my colleague to take up this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now it's time for you to co-create. In terms of plenary, if you have any comments, any questions, any feedback that you'd like to give, this is your chance.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the very insightful session that we've had. I've been listening keenly, and I'm really happy that some of the challenges that women rights organizations are facing are also alive to the donors and funders. But my question is, and it may not be answered at this point, it's something to ponder on. Even as we push for strengthening of the women rights organizations in terms of them being able to articulate their issues and also represent their circumstances as much as they could. This is a call and request to partners who fund. The reason I'm being politically correct is because there are partners who implement and there are those partners who fund, right? And I've been also able to sit in both spaces. And what I know internally with partners who fund, there's the power dynamic. Representation of African voices many a times miss in the very important spaces. And I'm talking about decision-making spaces. Yes, we do have staff working in the international organizations, but do they really make decisions so that, again, they can contextualize the issues that we're talking about, yeah? In reference, I'll make a reference to one time I was working on a project that was working in Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, you only have, like, in 12 months, you only have 4 viable months to implement fieldwork reasonably for impact. In such situations where you are required to even board a donkey to go up the hill, just so you are able to implement for impact and results. Do we have people who can actually demonstrate that or explain that to a funder who sits somewhere very remote to these people and do not have the contextual understanding of even the geographical area, the political situation, the civil unrest that happen in countries and how they affect our implementation? It's not a question, it's a comment that I am also alive to. And I'm also, as part of what I do and in volunteer work, I'm able to pass this to my partners. And I tell them, for this context, this is what applies. And especially when it comes to Kenya, I'm really loud about it. And it's just a challenge that, thank you so much for being able to articulate what you articulated, but also just posing that as a challenge to you as you go back.
So thank you very much. And I really want to say, I've always longed to be somewhere where this conversation will be brought up. I've really wanted to be somewhere where this conversation is brought up. And there are so many partners that I would wish were here today. I have been in the civil society space for quite some time, from 1998. I've been in the civil society. And I have seen so many types of partners. Very many types of partners. One, I've seen partners who literally push a proposal down your throat. Umewahi kuwa na hiyo? Yeah, that proposal you don't even know where it was written from. but they'll come and tell you this is the proposal, go ahead and implement it. And honestly, it becomes so very difficult. It becomes like when they come, you want to run away. Because some of the things they are even saying are not implementable in your context. It is something that came from India, it worked in India, and you have to implement in Butula. It becomes very difficult. Another thing I want to say is that we have partners, and I'm happy with Uraia. By the way, Uraia, I'm so happy with you people. Yeah. Why? Because you always ask us, what do you want? What can be done? What can we do? That's a very important question. And you get some partners who, right from the time your call for proposal goes through, it becomes a threat. You are always being told tutakutoa, we shall drop you. By the way, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, allow me to say this, please, and don't quote me anywhere else. I ended up telling a whole USID that RIP has blacklisted you. Seriously. Yes, me, RIP. RIP is a local organ, very local, ya reserve ya mashambani. But I told a whole USID that RIP has blacklisted you. Na ambassador alikuwa, please don't work with us. Because it was literally causing even my staff to get stressed, to go into depression. You know this thing you are being told, can we have this information within 2 hours? Like you are reporting every day, every hour, every minute. You know, it's not what you agreed on. And then you start a project this much and you end up reporting on things this much. You don't know what is happening. Somebody is calling somebody's wife saa 6 ya usiku, saa 7 ya usiku. Sorry, somebody's calling somebody, the M&E person, at 1 in the morning to tell you tomorrow by 7, can I have this information? And if you don't, it's like, we shall remove you. So I told them, remove us, we don't want you, and RIP has blacklisted you. Please never work with us. Just go to hell. So it becomes really difficult. I've had, Uraia is one of them, I've had other partners who are so friendly. And for us, our programs that have really worked is where you are working with your partner, with that donor. You are working with them. You're just happy. You're like, you are holding each other's hands. You can share all the intimate things. I have partners in Busia that are like our current partner, together with the Uraia, that if we say we go and hit somebody, they'll come with us. And it feels good. Yeah, it feels, they believe in you. They believe in what you're saying. To a level that even when they come down, you just want to be with them. You just want to be there. It really feels good. It really feels good. And for that reason, you will always want even to supersede the numbers that you are supposed, because some of the money you give us supersede. But there is this partner who will tell you you are supposed to do 20 and it is 20. Full stop. For example, I'll just give this example as I end. We were given money. We were working with the USAID project and we were given money to make uniform. To make uniform for orphans. And for me, that money I was given, I was able to make 3 uniforms for each orphan. And I got into trouble. It was supposed to be 1 uniform. Yes, I thought I was being creative. I thought I was being creative. But this bureaucracy, and I was. For me, what I did with that money, we had trained girls and boys who are actually household heads. We had trained them in different fields, and tailoring was one of them. So, we bought them tailoring machines as part of now ending the when we ended, after they were trained, we gave them the tailoring machines. So for me, what I did with my money for uniform, I got these boys and girls, I sent them to schools where our orphans were, and they counted the schools. So we bought the material, and we actually kept them somewhere in our office. We have a big office with a hall. I kept them in the hall, and they were making the uniforms from there. And with the materials we had bought with that money, every orphan was given 3 uniforms. Wacha wenye pesa wakuje. It was supposed to be 1. And others had made 1 uniform. Like, some donors actually help you to steal their money. So it becomes really, really, and for some of us, personally for me, my love language is affirmation. Say good Mary, I will hit the roof and come back and go to heaven. But the moment you are like, this is the way to do it. It is so tight, you are like wearing a very straight suit. It becomes very, very difficult. And I'm so happy that today we have discussed this very openly. Allow us to do the work. We know our cultures. Today, if you come to Busia, by the way, there is no defilement in Busia. But even as I'm sitting here, I've just been showing her, a child has just been defiled. I've just been sent, a child at 12 years was defiled last night. Somebody broke their window and entered in. But you're coming and it's like, how? It will not work. Thank you so much for this sharing. Thank you.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Okay.
One, two.
I have
just before you ask, if you can keep the questions just precise and quick so that you can continue with the program faster. Okay. Someone has.
Yeah, so it's Lucy who has the mic. And my question to the panelist is that currently we are having an issue with issues on costs for disability-related costs in programming. So my question is this something that is live to you, even as you plan your programs? Because they are hindering us from fully participating. You want to, but once you lack that disability-related cost and reasonable accommodations, you are not able to perform normally. Let me just say that. So I'm wondering if that is something that has come to your attention, if that is something that you are planning to, include in your programming, or what is the situation?
Thank you for the panel. To the panel, Pambazuko la Wanawake Magharibi works across the whole of Western and Nyanza. So we cut across the 10 counties. But we have a challenge in even acquiring funding for other counties away from especially Kisumu, and let me say that the Luo Nyanza. Because you come across like 80% to 90% of the calls for proposals targeting Kisumu. So even the KDHS report for 2022 is putting Bungoma County at the top of violence against women and even teenage pregnancy. But so far, getting support for Bungoma County is really, really a problem. So I don't know from where you sit. I don't know what informs that most of the funders would be looking at Kisumu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this interactive session. It is quite informing. it is quite encouraging for us as WROs on the ground. I've noted a number of things that our development partners need to take note of, like being flexible on some of the implementation requirements or guidelines, something of the sort. I've also heard Dennis talk about ICR that needs to be trickled down to the sub-guarantees in this matter, and even the aspect of bureaucracy that is, at the development partners level. My question is this something that we are thinking it should be done, or there is a conversation somewhere that has started on this? Because if something has not started with our development partners somewhere, I have the feeling that we'll continue receiving restricted proposals. Like if it is 1 year, it is 1 year, no cost extension, and there is no room for flexibility. So is there any conversation anywhere that has, started, or we are just thinking about something that should happen? And as I end, Dennis, what is this ICR? I don't understand. Thank you. Okay. I have started this journey with Dennis long time ago, and he has grown. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can just pause a little bit so that the panelists can respond to that set of questions, and then we move to the next level. I think Dennis has been mentioned severally, so I'll call on Dennis to respond, particularly on the issues about ICR. Can you have the other microphone? Thank you. You're being asked, what is ICR? Okay. Yeah. And then also, I know there's a question which she has also asked about trickling down to the local actors as well. So please respond to that.
Yeah. Thanks really for that question regarding ICR. ICR is indirect cost recovery. And in direct cost recovery, there are some costs when you're implementing a project. You might not be able to to factor in all those costs, including a very simple example, the brand of your organization. Like Kitui Women Development, you have a brand in where you are currently. And it's because of that brand, you've already built networks for a very long time. So there are some costs that you can't really pinpoint and put it in a project, but they are very vital in the implementation of projects. And different organizations fund different percentage of ICR. There are some, I think, which is around 8%. There are some to a tune of even 15% that you can be able to recover. However, it will also be very important for you to have an ICR policy. It's very, very important for you to have an ICR policy, because the policy that you have is the one that can guide different partners. There's a question you also asked about, is this conversation happening somewhere, or it's something that we are starting? And I will happily share that this is not a new conversation. As Brian during his preamble mentioned that different partners, different organizations have committed to different commitments that, and very simple example is the Grand Bargain, which has been committed by major donors. I'm sure also Global Affairs has committed to this. UNICEF, different UN agencies, and even NGOs, they have committed to Grand Bargain. And under the Grand Bargain, there are different commitments, including flexible funding, direct funding, that also local actors need to keep us, to keep us to account, because it's very important. I think there was a question on disability related costs. Maybe I can answer that and then hand over the mic. For our case, we provide that. I will mention that is provided, but it's also very interesting because 2 months ago, I happened to have been in a training in Ethiopia, and it was very interesting because we had also factored in, to invite organizations of persons with disabilities. But it was interesting because the training where we were having, the session, it was actually in first floor and it didn't have a lift. I mean, it was a shocker. But this is also something that Ruth was mentioning. It's also a learning to, to us that, it's a continuous learning. Of course, after we learned that, we were able to rectify that. So it's also a learning. And the way you've mentioned, Lucy, I think it's something that we need to continuously also sharing experiences as we go along. Thank you.
Yeah, Ruth, as you're responding, I also want you to tie in with a particular discussion which was brought up, and the discussion was around development partners pushing down proposals into the local actors. Please also tie into your, when you're responding to the previous questions, just briefly. Thank you.
All right. Let me start with the disability-related costs. Like Dennis has said, most funders, most development partners are on a learning journey, including the MasterCard Foundation. And we are taking our partners along this journey. And so if we fund you, if we support you, then we also offer that support on disability inclusive programming. So we have a technical partner who then supports our partners to then have all these things that we are talking about, reasonable accommodation and all that. 5% of our target population is persons with disability. Have we achieved the target? Not yet. Like I've said, we are on a journey towards that. But then we also have our programs, the programs that we support are integrated. So every program that we support, then they have to reach 5% of persons with disability. And we also have disability dedicated programs, just for persons with disability. So we are on a journey and we are doing it. Someone asked, with this ICR and redistribution of funding to WROs, does it happen? Yes, it happens. It happens, and it has to be a principle, it has to be a policy within an organization. So we can't say it happens across every other development partners, but then most partners are really embracing it. The other thing that is I'm seeing within the funding space is that partners are learning. They are learning. There are a lot of lessons that they are picking from others who've offered flexible funding and the results, and they're slowly taking that as a practice. What was the other question again? On funders pushing down proposal down the WRO's throats. I don't think that is what should happen. At least I can confirm at the MasterCard Foundation, we do not do that. And so co-creation really helps that you co-create the idea. Because again, like we have said, you actually know your context better. So can you imagine someone sitting in Nairobi developing a proposal, not even far, not even in London, Nairobi, developing a proposal for someone in West Pokot? Of course they will get it wrong. So I think that doesn't work well. Of course, it will not lead to the intended impact. And so for me, I would really advocate for co-creation. Co-create the program with your funder. And this I'm talking to the funders. The funders should be able to really co-create the programs and solutions with their local partners, because I mean that is the only way you get to impact. Otherwise, and I'm sure you guys know of programs that well designed, well articulated, but then they did not meet the impact because there was a disconnect, yeah.
Purity?
Additionally, just as Ruth has mentioned, it's important to co-create. However, organizations have their own strategic alignment and their own strategic plans and their own expected outcomes from different projects. So we would say that during co-creation, it's important for organizations not to lose themselves. As you do co-creation, you identify and you say that this is what we expect also. This is what, when we achieve this particular milestone, it's also going to speak to our organizational vision, and also going to speak to the organizational vision of our particular partner, so that we are able to speak to each other and not pushing projects down people's throats. And I would also like to say, Ruth, that I'm proud that Christian Aid does not do that as well. And so just to add also on Dennis has mentioned that this is a discussion that is going forward. It's a discussion that is going on. We are not saying it's what we have been having the past hour for discussing in terms of matters concerning proposal development and all these discussions in terms of organizations having their own localization agenda. Is a discussion that is going on, and that is where we have Charter for Change, and that is where we have the Grand Bargain, and they all have commitments, and in these commitments organizations have committed. They have committed to ensure that those commitments come to pass, and some of those commitments is actually just matters concerning transparency and also direct funding to our local organizations. So I would like to assure you that these conversations are going forward. Another question that was asked in terms of how do organizations decide which region or which county they're going to have implementation of particular projects. For us, I would like to mention just matters concerning Christian Aid when it comes to programming, is that when we come together with the partner during co-creation, we identify, according to statistics, we identify where there's need. So it doesn't have to fall in a particular county, but it is according to where there's need and where, because as we have mentioned about indigenous knowledge, then the partner is able to tell us that this is where there's need, and when we come together, we are going to achieve and we are going to deliver this expected outcome that is speaking to our vision and speaking to the partner's vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Purity. So we're going to take another round of questions. Just three very important questions. So we have, let me get this mic. Thank you. So you go first. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Anne Sabania. I wanted to ask a question regarding consortium. And I'm asking this because though I've worked in a consortia as you know, implementing profession, but not as an owner of an organization. And my experience is that even in such a consortium, you find that women rights organization of our type here, who are here, as it's so difficult to get in there, because probably you find that the level of, you know, the investment that you need to have done in your organization in terms of your books of accounts, you know. So if, for example, Master can give money in terms of billions, millions and millions. So if you've not, you know, run an account of 10 million, really, you pushed somewhere at the corner. So what is happening? What are you willing to do, or what would we get as grassroots organization? Referring to Ms. Werunga, when she talked in the morning, and Wangeshi here, talked about these grassroots organizations that are just beginning, yet addressing key issues that affect women. I think that's a question that I would really want to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chris Kimani. I work at the Center for Domestic Training and Development, CDTD, and it's a pleasure being with this great team of leaders and women rights organizations. So one thing which we've experienced over the years of working as a local CSO is that local organizations rarely are able to tap into the bigger pool of funding, which is usually channeled more so through international organizations and key development partners. I've had a lot of advice, including maybe the sentiments from Dennis and Ruth, that working through consortia can actually help CSOs and local WROs be able to tap into this pool of larger resources. But now maybe my question would be, what other advice maybe might you donors have to organizations such as us, now that our capacity has been built thanks to the WVL program, and we do believe now that we have the capacity to handle those kind of resources and also program serious intensive initiatives. So what kind of advice, or what other advice or what other tips might you people have for local actors for them to be able to tap into this bigger pool of resources now moving forward with our strength and capacity. Thank you.
Can you get a question from the back?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Nurat Wamaya. I'm representing an organization from Kisumu called Let Girls Learn Initiative. And this conversation, like everyone else said, has been quite hopeful, especially for young people. So I'll address my question to Ms. Ruth. You mentioned that organization are not supposed to sort of approach you, you approach them. And I was just here sitting and wondering, how do I go and tell other fellow founders from where I come from, how to strategically place themselves in a way that you will see them and approach them, because you're not supposed to be approached. Yeah, because we were thinking probably that's one of the bureaucracy that we have to break, and we, getting to approach you is not possible. So how do we place ourselves in a way that you will approach us? Thank you.
Thank you for those very, just one more please, because of the interest of time. Yes, at the back. Just one last question, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the conversations. I think mine is a very fast one. I want to understand, and looking at the sustainability of WROs, what is your advice on giving a percentage of the money that we get on endowment funding?
Wow, that was very straight and very simple. So, you've heard the questions, our panelists. Ruth, I'll pick you first. There's a very straightforward question to you. MasterCard Foundation, you have decided to approach a particular organization. Explain in diagrams.
Let me not explain, let me clarify. Just to be clear, I did not say organizations are not supposed to approach us. I said we do not do open calls. Open calls is we want to fund a program on agriculture and it's doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, We do not do open calls. However, organizations are able to approach us. You can send your ideas, because how else do we get to know you? We meet in such a forum, you hear what I'm saying, you approach us, we have a conversation, we see it's a good idea, it aligns, then the rest is history, So again, on record, organizations can approach us. What we do not do is open calls. I hope that is clear. All right. I think the other thing around consortias and WROs, wanting to get it direct and all that, I think even looking at the national organization, so let me use the example of the WROs in this room. The Crown Trust, the Cruise, Urgent Action Fund, Uraia. They've walked a journey. That is, I think, one thing that I would really want the WROs in the room to understand and appreciate. They have walked a journey, and a very long journey, and I don't know whether part of WVL was to share your history as Crown Trust on how it started and where it started, or even as crew, how it started and where it started, So they have taken some time to really build their organizations over time. So we really appreciate that, yes, there is an opportunity for you to get direct funding, and Dennis really explained how most funders work. Consortia is the of building the capacity and the strength of the WROs to really get to a place where they can get their funding. And the other thing is that different funders have different modalities, you know. And so one of the things that I would encourage, look at a variety of funders, look at a variety of development partners. Check what do they fund, how do they fund, you know. That will really help you to know that this particular funder prefers consortia, the other one prefers, you know, direct funding. And maybe you'll find that the direct funding may not be a lot of amount, but then maybe the consortia one is quite reasonable. So, I mean, different funders, different modalities, different models, you know. And so we are here representing a few development partners, but every other development partner has their own strategy and has their own way of working.
Thank you, Ruth. Just before Dennis speaks, I would like to request you to give your closing remarks, and then we progress. Also, Dennis, as you respond, you also give us your closing remarks, the same as Purity, so that we close the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to sit here and to share this space with you. We are looking forward to becoming a partner who walks the journey with the women's rights organization, who really understands, who really appreciates, who really gets to know where the shoe pinches most, but then not just for you, but for that woman that is in your village that needs help. Yeah, thank you very much.
I don't know which question was directed to me.
Yeah, I think there was a question around pool funding and how the local actors can tap into the bigger pool of funds.
Or I think it was an issue around endowment fund.
That was a different question. There was a question from Chris, and that's a question that Chris was asking. How can the local actors also benefit from the larger pools of funds, considering the many requirements that are placed on the table?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think Ruth has really responded on that very clearly. You know, there are different tools, but I think one of the tools that is really currently being used mostly is the consortia establishment, and also as she had also stated, is a learning curve. In case maybe there are also other tools, maybe those can also be applied. But I know in also other countries there have also been use of pooled funds, which have really worked very, very well in terms of reaching also to even organizations that are not registered under pooled fund. I think there was a question on endowment, and for me just to say is that, you know, in terms of partnership, when you are partnering with a women-led organization and we provide you with the ICR, then it's upon you to decide if you want to put it in an endowment fund, if you want to do staff capacity development. That is really based on how you'd like to allocate the resources, because for ICR you will not be accounting back on that money. That is money is only for your organization development. My parting shot, having been here and listening to the great works that we are all doing, and I've heard also several statements on power. My parting shot is that power is key for change, and a brother of power is ideology, because whoever shapes your ideology controls your past, your present, and your future. And the cousin of ideology is voice. And voice is very key. And that's why we are all here, because of women voice and leadership. Voice is key in shaping ideology. And the great work you are doing, the voice that you're having in all those different counties, villages, sub-counties, is really shaping and reshaping ideologies. And I'd really like to congratulate all of you. And I'm happy I've learned a lot for today, and looking forward to partnering with the different women-led organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. So I think one question that was asked is about, just as Brian was mentioning, about the pool funding. Let me tell you from my own personal experience and perspective, it's important for us to be in spaces. Be in spaces, be in rooms. When people are discussing, be there to discuss and be there to share your own ideology. Because if you're not there, then you miss out. And if you don't take advantage of branding and communication, then you miss out as well. Then it becomes a matter of nobody knows you. So when we're having discussions, as MasterCard have mentioned, that they don't do open calls, then you won't be even in their mind. Same to Christian, if we don't do open calls, we identify partners that we can work with, and those are because those partners are vocal. Those are partners that we have had them share. Those are partners that we have seen their work because they have invested in branding and they have invested in communication. And so my parting shot to tie to that is that let's leverage on technology. If there's something that I learned from Gen Z, is that sociology is a powerful tool. And if we use it and use it well, then we are able to share our knowledge and we are able to share our work and share our experience worldwide. And you don't know, someone in Iceland could see what you're doing and just think, well, I like what this organization is doing, let me support them and put in some resources, not just in terms of finances, it could also be in terms of other kind of resources. It could be in terms of capacity enhancement, it could be in terms of mental capacity and even reviewing a proposal, all that kind of support. But that's because you have mentioned, because you have talked, because people have seen you and people have seen your work. So my parting shot is that I'm very, very blessed and privileged to be here in this discussion, and thank you so much. I have learned a lot, and I look forward to us sharing and being in partnership and looking at how we can support our women, our young women, our men, and even our community, basically as a whole in the community. Thank you.
We can do a better clap. So thank you very much to our panelists. I think, and I know, and I believe that we have learned a lot, isn't it? Isn't it? That's nice. So my takeaway is, as WVL and as WROs, we must invest in development partners mapping. We must know who is doing what so that we can be able to create and co-create sustainable projects. The other one is we have to amplify our visibility. The work that we are doing, we must amplify it and share. And as a parting shot, there is a Swahili saying that says, Mgaga na upwa. I can't hear you. Mgaga na upwa. What this means is we must get into collaborative partnerships that are underpinned by accountability, learning, and mutual respect for our work to progress and to amplify all our collective actions. So asanteni sana as I hand it over to the MC.
All right, kindly just remain at the podium. Let's appreciate them one more time. Wow. I saw when it came to matters money, the questions were so many, but at least we had to manage it. So I'd like to invite Anita Silai from MasterCard Foundation as well to just join them on stage. Anita Silai. She stepped out. Okay, she stepped out. All right, so I'm going to invite amazing people who are going to gift you. So the first among the many, I want to invite Caroline Montpetit to just come here. Second one, we have Wangeshi Washira. Third, we have Majori Gipure. And finally, Christine Okoko. So they're going to help in gifting. Isabella, is Isabella around? She can take for Anita. Carol Beronga, you can just come on stage to take for on behalf of Anita. Yeah. The Lord has seen you. Umefikiwa maombi yako. Just come on stage. So we're going to give them. Maybe you can choose one person you're going to give the gift, and in that order. Photographers, you can just face the camera over here. Put a big smile. Wow, fantastic! Let's appreciate them. Awesome. All right, the next gifter. There you go. The spotlight is on you. You can face the camera as well. And with a round of applause, you appreciate them. Awesome. On to the next one. Yes. If you believe, you'll get those funds. A big hug as well. Face the camera. All right. Fantastic. And then on to the last one. There you go. Take it on behalf of Anita. Face the cameraman over there. Okay, let's appreciate them. Also, now a group photo. All the panelists, I hope they're still here. You can do a group photo of the panelists. We are coming to the end. Panelists, all of you, just like a group photo. Yes. So give them their gifts so that they take a photo with the gift. Yeah. Oh, ziko wapi? Oh yeah, hold your gift so that you take a photo with the gift. Yes. Yeah, we are rounding up the day. Awesome. Let's face the cameraman. He's so far away. Just believe in him. He'll capture you. Have faith. All right. But also mark his face in case you are cropped. Okay, fantastic. Let's appreciate this amazing panelists. What an amazing time. Thank you. So now moving on swiftly. On to the second thing. I remember I told you we had hashtags that were going around, and to make it even simpler, they were on your tags. Hashtag lifting her voice, hashtag WROFest24, and we say the person who will tweet the most will get an award. I don't know if this person is a Gen Z, I don't know, but today we're going to notice. Can you guess who that person is? Any guesses? It can't be me. It's someone else. So now, ladies and gentlemen, as he comes on stage with a round of applause, give it up for Yasmin Mohammed. Yes. Ako wapi. Aha. All right. Okay, sorry for that. Sorry for that. Come on, let's appreciate her. Let's appreciate her. Okay, we can make it more energetic. We are here to ignite, accelerate. Halala. Haya. Masala la. Kitendawili. Hai. Aya, maridadi kabisa. Aya. Apatiwe zawadi. Haya. Asanteni. Yasmin, just take the photo, right? All right. Okay. That's an amazing song. I think we should dance to that song. Yeah, but at the final end. But right about now, I want to invite the last person just to give us a recap of the day and how the day was. Just to get the name right, we have the head of programs, Uraia Trust. Please help me welcome Marjorie Githure tafadhali kwa makofi. In just a few minutes, rounding up the day in a few minutes.
Good evening. Good evening. So let's try again. Good evening. That's better. Thank you.
As said, my name is Marjorie Githure, and I will not do a wrap-up or a summary. I know we've all been engaging. I'll just pick out a few keywords that have been said today and phrases with regards to our work, and we shall do a better recap tomorrow in the morning. So some of the keywords from the morning till evening, I have quite a number here, but I'll just pick a few. One is on reflection and solidarity. This was from the speeches in the morning. How do you reflect on your journey? How do you congregate, and how do we bring about solidarity? The second term is on deepening collaboration. How do we deepen collaboration together? Third one, grassroots, and I really liked that one. Off the tarmac, and I think my team from Faza Lamu will say off the boat, because there is no tarmac, it is just water. And focusing on last mile solutions. How do we truly change the lives of women and girls? The fifth point would be human dignity and equity, which is a critical principle on feminist international assistance policy. And it is also in our constitution, Article 10, 10B, in terms of human dignity and equity. With regards to the policy work, the strategic plans that we've done, vision and alignment. How do we align? How do we align as women rights organizations? And how do we align with the various responsibilities and direction? The other one that has been said a lot is on learning, co-creation, and co-production. How do we move the agenda and gender and the journey together? Feedback mechanisms. How do we learn? How do we adapt? How do we evaluate? In terms of organization, I liked moving from, we've moved the language from capacity building to capacity strengthening, and now capacity accompaniment. So how do we ensure that we recognize the capacity that is there as we build in terms of voice and agency? In ending, I will end with the believe in the strength that you have, which speaks to the core of this work, voice and agency. Believing in the strength that we have, peer learning, and intergenerational support. Moving the agenda forward one generation at a time. Shaping and reshaping ideologies. So I want to quote one of my favorite speakers. I have a couple, but I'll just choose one. We stand on the shoulders of women who have come before us. And one of those women is Wangari Maathai. In the course of history, there comes a time when humanity is called to shift to a new level of consciousness. A time when we have to shed our fear and give hope to each other. That time is now. Maathai's words resonate with WVL and the Canadian feminist principles of collaboration and shared responsibility in the fight for gender equality. She highlighted the importance of collective action and empowering each other to create a just world. So I'd like us to take a moment of silence, just 1 minute, and reflect on the word collaboration. Just a minute. So, thank you for that moment of silence. The empowerment of women in the space of collaboration is about fairer distribution of power, and is about recognizing that African women and Kenyan women too deserve the chance to rise and contribute fully to the development of our societies. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said, "The size of your dreams must always exceed
your capacity to achieve them. If your dreams do not scare you, you're not big enough, or they're not big enough. Her words reflect the boldness of what WVL intends to do, that push of transformational change by dreaming of an inclusive world where all women, including those in Africa, have the freedom and support to dream beyond their limitations. And to end this day is to end with a note of gratitude that says, WVL believed in the women in this room, the founders and the women rights organizations, in them pushing their borders and their dreams higher. And I'd like for all of us to give a round of applause to ourselves in a special style, in a factorial manner. We will do 3 factorial with our legs, our hands, and our fingertips. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Are we okay? All right, let's start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1. And then now we do the final one. This one is a personal appreciation to yourself. Because without you in this room, no will and no work would have been done. So we'll do a 3 factorial appreciation to yourself. Are you ready? Have you warmed your heart? Why is someone touching their right side and the heart is on the left? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to appreciate yourself? Okay, so let's start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Back to you, MC.
Come on, let's appreciate her one more time. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we have come to the end of this day. Just a quick announcement. Tomorrow's session starts at exactly 8:30 a.m. So let's keep time so that you can manage the time during the session and maximize the time that you have. But for now, I'd like to invite us to stand up so that we can close the day. And as you stand up, behind there we have the exhibition that is happening, the WRO exhibition. So make sure after this, walk there, get to interact with them. We have Longisa, Beacon of Hope. We have Rukiso Kenya. We have Leha. And we have REEP, that is REEP. So after this, just walk there, interact with them, get to buy something, just get to know more about them. But even as we finish this day, remember we're here to ignite, accelerate, and yes, all right. So let's just do something small together and then we wind up. Storm, are you ready? Okay, just give me now whenever it's ready. Tell your neighbor, give me some space kidogo. Haya, tafuta nafasi kidogo tu. Come on. Now put your hands up like this. Haya, 1, 2, 3, twende. Haya, let's go. Tena. Tunaweza, twende. Haya, 1, 2, 3, let's go this way. Twende. Side to side. One more time, let's go. Ay. Twende, twende. Everybody now. 1, 2, 3, twende. Geuka. Twende. One more time, let's go. Weka dance. Weka dance. Weka dance. Hapo tu twende. Twende. One finger in the air. Zunguka. Turn around, let's go. Hey. One more time, weka mkono kama watu wa pwani. Like people from the coast. Zunguka. Zunguka, twende. Ay. Twende. Twende. Everybody now, come on, let's go. Makofi, twende. Haya, tunaweza, twende. If we just believe in ourselves, tunaweza, twende. Haya, weka mkono hapa. Twisty. 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 Hiya, twisty. Nice and easy. Let's go. Twisty. Twisty. Come on. 1, 2, 3. Let me see step. Hey. Kanyaga, let's go. Step. Step. Kanyaga. Aya. Ay. Let's go. Twende. Aya, ya, ya. Twende. Kanyaga. Twende. Twende. Hey. Hapo. Okay, let me see your shoulders. Twende. Mabega. Mabega. Shoulders. Hiya. Peleka chini twende. Hiya. Let you bring it up. Come on. Hiya. Take it down again. Go. Hiya. Jiamini. Bring it up. Let's go. Put your feet up. Everybody, let's go. Let me hear say. Tunaweza sema. Hey. Sema. Tunaweza. Kila mtu. One more time, say, tunaweza. Walk around to 5 people, give them a high five and appreciate them for being awesome today. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Just a quick announcement. We have a photo shoot near the pool area. So we need to grab, like everybody needs to be in that photo. You don't want to miss in that photo. So near the pool area, just after this, do we have someone to guide us to that place? Okay, we have Pauline. Pauline's over here. So she'll guide us the photo area. But also remember to check the exhibition. Tomorrow at exactly 8:30 a.m., let's meet here. Photo shoot, let's all follow Pauline towards the pool area. Pauline is right over here. She's leaving. Guys, you don't want to miss the photo. Let's follow her. Let's follow her. Don't go without us, kindly. Or she's already left. Let's go take photos and then we can come back and even carry our things and then we can come back, even just check the exhibition as well. We need a good photo before the sun goes. We need a good photo before the sun goes. Yeah, Pauline is waiting for us.